What's good, everybody? This is Fern, aka Fina Oraya, author of Before 7:30, Practical Ways to Empower Yourself and Save Your Relationship Before Giving Up. I hope you all are doing well. Let me tell you, despite some of the hiccups in my life right now, I'm feeling good mentally and spiritually. I know I told you guys how that herbal bath for 26 days worked wonders for me. And I didn't give her credit in my How to Raise Your Vibration video, but I learned of the bath from Alashala, the beautiful queen who is based in England. If you've watched my other videos, you might have heard me mention how 2019 was a hurricane year for me. But as my good friend in Spain just told me, everything will work out. And I can feel it in my soul that everything will be all right. So I'm just letting the blessings and the great things come back into my life. And let me tell you, if life is kicking your tail right now and you don't have that support, keep grinding. Keep working on improving yourself because your big day is coming. So question, how many of you are runners? You're raising your hand, but you didn't ask what kind. Well, today I want to talk to those of you who like to run away from your problems. I want to say that some of you need to stop running. Yep, it's time. Too many of you have been running. And some of you are still running, and yet you don't know why you're running and where you're running to. And what do I mean by that? Now, we all know that a steady and long-term relationship will have its ups and downs. You'll have your moments when you feel loved, appreciated, and other times you might feel like, OMG, what the heck did I get myself into? You'll have time when you want to be in solitude, even for half a day. You're going to have days when you'll want to socialize, and other times you'll want to go for a long walk in the forest or by the lake, all by yourself. Just you, yourself, and you. But what you need to remember is that the energy of all relationships is cyclical. The things that go on in relationships are just like what goes on in life, period. It's all cyclical. In the beginning, life is like a beautiful blooming flower. Everything is so sweet and wonderful. Everyone is in love. You're still in that honeymoon, oh my God, heavenly phase. But over time, some of that fire will die down, depending on what else the two of you have going on in your life. The fire might fade a bit sooner rather than later. But either way, it's still going to follow due course because you both as individuals are not static beings. You are dynamic souls who are always evolving. You will go through the phases of life, whether you want to or not. Whether you're aware that you're going through those phases or not, it doesn't matter. They're still going to happen. Tomorrow, you're not going to be the same person you are today, which means that if you decide to be in a long-term relationship, you have to understand that life will throw curveballs sometimes. Good things will happen, and a few bad things will happen as well. Now, the question is, how ready are you for some of the bad things that would happen? Some of you will not be able to withstand the heat. Some of you will not be able to withstand that pressure. They'll feel like a 1-ton dumbbell on your back. Some of you will not be able to deal with some of the major issues that will come up. And guess what? If you're not ready for it and you can't handle it, it's okay to bow out. This is why I wrote my book Before 7:30, because if you do want to bow out, it's best that you bow out before you invest too much time into the relationship, as well as before you start having children. Because once you start having children, then it complicates things. We all have our breaking point. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have that thing or those specific things that we won't negotiate with anybody. And we all respond to certain situations differently. What one person can tolerate, the next person already has their 2 fingers up like deuces. But there are some things, though, that I would caution you on. So many grown men and women out there are running from their responsibilities, running from their relationships, running from their partner, without looking deeper as to why they're even running and whether or not they're going to stop running one day. Because if you don't really know why you're running, you're going to be running your whole life. And guess what? Things will continue to happen. Which means that before you know it, you're 60, 65, 70 years old, like, OMG, what the heck happened to me? But by then, it'll be too late because you can't undo all of those years that you've lost precious time, all because you were running from your problems. If you're running away from your financial responsibilities at home, you need to find out why that is the case. Some things to think about. Why would you create a family and now want to take care of that family? If you're not taking care of your children, you're not taking care of your spouse or partner, you're not taking charge of your duties as a partner, what's preventing you from doing better? If things in the household are in total disarray, you need to ask yourself, how did that happen? When did that happen? What were you doing or not doing that affected the smooth running of your household? Because guess what? You might think the next relationship will be better, and it might be for a minute. Well, while you're still in that honeymoon phase, but eventually the cycle will repeat itself because you are part of that cycle. You got to remember that new person that you're running to will one day change. Things will happen. And then what? You're going to start running again? I'm not saying for you to stay in toxic relationships, but what I'm saying is if you see that you're always running from your relationships, take the time to understand why. Because we're not meant to always be running. But if you always running, you have to find out, damn, when am I going to stop running? Are you running because you don't know what you're doing? Are you running because you have psychological issues, mommy, daddy issues, financial issues? I mean, why? This is even more crucial if you have children. I would strongly suggest that you think about your children before you run again, if that urge comes up. The amazing thing is that you might be thinking that it's the other person who's the problem. And the truth is, there are times when it's neither one of you. But how would you know that if you don't stop to analyze your situation? And of course, you got to remember, other times, it is you. You are the problem. So I have noticed this trend with people who grew up in extremely dysfunctional households, like to run from their problems. They continue to run from person to person, and then they have children, and they still continue to run away from their partner and their children. And then their children end up despising them because of all the effects of separation. And at the end of the day, these children might grow up feeling abandoned because mommy and daddy can't get their lives in order. So now, as they get older, unless they do a psychoanalysis of themselves, they end up repeating the cycle. The sad thing is that some of the grown men and women today who are running away from their problems, from their responsibilities, from their children, are products of that cycle themselves. It's like a never-ending cycle until someone puts a stop to it. That's why I'm saying to be mindful of your actions when you see that you're always starting a new relationship because you're thinking the last person was the problem. It was never you. Like there's no good people out there to date. No one is good enough out there to marry. Everybody is crazy and toxic, but you. Everybody's toxic but you. So I think it's time for you to be honest with yourself for a second. Ask yourself some tough questions, such as, are you a good partner? Are you a reliable person? Are you providing for your family? Are you protecting your family? Are you a loving person to your family? Do you have mental issues? Are you too emotionally impulsive? Are you the problem? These are very serious questions, and they're tough because you have to be honest with yourself if you really want answers. It's time that you stop running. It's time that you stop running without knowing why. Without asking why, you're always running instead of being a man or woman enough to handle your business. If you have been in 5, 7, 9 relationships and every one of those relationships had similar, or every one of those relationships had a similar outcome where you always had to run, then it means that you're trying to run away from yourself. That's going to be tough. How do you keep away from yourself? So if all of those relationships have a common denominator, and that common denominator is you, then how will you prevent those problems from arising again if you might be the problem? If the urge comes and your mind is telling you to run, tell it, not this time. Figure out the problem first before you decide to walk. I said walk, not run. Because sometimes it's better. Sometimes you got to run. I'll be honest. Sometimes you got to run. If you are in an abusive relationship, you got to save your life. Shoot, you better run. But other times, you've invested so much time, energy. You've started a family. Those moments, you need to sit down. You need to sit down and think things through. Rationalize. Understand the consequences of the decisions that you're about to make. And when you make those decisions, you want to have clarity. So that when you walk away, if need be, then you're good. You feel you're okay with walking away. Because you gave yourself enough time to sit down and analyze things. But if you're going to run, there's no telling what you're going to be running to. Again, I've noticed so many people who like to run but don't even know why they're doing it. Destroying family ties, taking away from their children's peace of mind and happiness. At the end of the day, runners run because they want to win a championship or a medal, or they're running for a cause. But here you are running, but with no positive rewards in sight. I know this is a deep subject. It needs to be. It should be. It's time for people to know and understand why they do what they do, especially when it affects other people, and especially if you have a family. See, if this is what you've been doing, especially if you're in a relationship right now and you're not happy and you're definitely ready to run, yet again, just like that last relationship, it's time to stop and think. Those are the thoughts that just came to me, and I wanted to share those thoughts with you. It's always good to have your support. So thank you for always listening, coming in and checking out my videos. For those of you who are new, definitely subscribe, hit that notification bell to be notified of my new videos. So thank you so much for the support. And for those of you who are new to my channel, check out my website, before730.com. That's the word before, numbers 730.com, where you can buy my book, my journals, essential oils, and more. Again, I really appreciate you sharing your time with me today. And remember to stop running. Until the next video, happy living.